Good morning, students. Today here we are with one of the most famous poems of Robert Frost, that is The Road Not Taken. The Road Not Taken. You may think, what is this all about? Actually, the word road has been used metaphorically here. It's a symbol. It is all about choices. In life, we have to make certain choices. Without making choices, we can't proceed. In fact, success in life depends on the choices that we make. It is our choice or it is our decision about our future course of action that helps us move ahead in life. This poem, The Road Not Taken, is written by one of the famous American poets, Robert Frost. The fact is that the poem is quite autobiographical in nature. Now you may ask me, what is this autobiography? There are two words, biography and autobiography. Biography is one's life story written by someone else. Autobiography, if someone is sharing one's own life story with us, then that is autobiography. That in Hindi we call Atmakatha. But the poet is not all about an autobiography in a real sense. Actually, here the poet is telling us about one of the most crucial periods of his life. The poet was facing failures one after the other. He was unable to decide what to do. Though the poet is a modern one, but he has a traditional way of writing. The moment I say a traditional way of writing, certainly I'm trying to tell you about the road, the choice that poet had to make. See, the road not taken. In the introduction part, we have this well-known poem is about making choices. The same thing I was telling you about. And the choices that shape us, choices that help us move ahead in life and to test whether it's success or failure. Robert Frost is an American poet who writes simply but insightfully about common ordinary experiences. Okay, that is the introduction given in your book. Let's discuss the poem. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood. As I told you, the word road has been used as a metaphor, it has been used as a symbol. And diverged, diverged means separated, parted. The poet was standing at a point of the road from where the road was getting divided into two directions. And you can understand quite easily that no man can walk on two roads at the same time. Certainly, we have to decide in what direction we have to move, whether it is to the left or whether it is to the right. But we cannot travel on both the roads at the same time. So the poet was quite confused. It diverged in a yellow wood. The road diverged. The roads were diverging in a yellow wood. Have you ever seen a yellow wood? Forest. Wood means forest. It's never yellow in color. Then why the word yellow is here? The word yellow is actually, the color yellow is a symbol of sadness. Needless to say, as I told you in the beginning, that the poet was passing through a very difficult period of his life. He was confused what he should do. Regarding what he should do, it is not about getting a job or doing farming or doing some other activity. Actually, he had set his mind on writing poetry, but he was confused as to what kind of poetry he should write, because when he was writing poems, there was a term called new verse. Most of the poets were trying to write their poems in the style called new verse. The poet felt whether it would be wise for him to follow the same track that was being followed by other poets. No doubt, it was a quite popular path, but the poet felt, if I just join that crowd, what would be the chances of success? Whether I would be successful in making my own identity among so many poets? Ultimately, the poet decided that no, he would not be doing the same thing as was being done by most of the poets. He decided that he would make the old style new one. Means he would go ahead with conventional style of writing poetry, but some new idea or concept. And see, the two roads diverged in a yellow wood. So the two roads, two choices were there before the poet, and they were diverging in a yellow wood. They were getting separated in a yellow wood, yellow forest. Yellow forest, forest cannot be yellow in color. Actually, both the options were not sure to offer him with success. But then he had to try, he had to choose at least one way of writing poetry. And sorry, I could not travel both. The poet said, since I was the only traveler, I could not travel both. The use of the word I here, the same I gives us the idea of autobiography. Here we become clear that the poet is talking about himself, autobiography. He is telling us about his own life story. And sorry, I could not travel both. Practically, it was difficult for me, not difficult, rather impossible for me to walk on both the roads at the same time and be one traveler long I stood. Because since I was the only traveler, I kept standing there for some time, for a long time actually. I kept standing there for a long time. What was he doing there standing? Actually, he was thinking about the possibilities of success if he chose one particular road and looked down one as far as I could. And then he started surveying the road. He started examining the road to where it went in the undergrowth and looked down one as far as I could, and then he decided to examine the first road. He kept looking at the first road as far as his eye could help him to see. And what did he find? He found that the road was getting lost in an undergrowth. It was bending, it was turning, it was curving in an undergrowth. Now, what is this undergrowth? Not properly grown trees or plants, not fully grown plants or trees. Here, the word undergrowth again conveys to us that a large number of poets who were trying their hands on new poetry, they were just fighting for their identity, fighting for their success, but not even a single one of them was getting the full success that he or she wanted to have. Then took the other just as fair, and after examining the first road, I started surveying the second road, and I found that it was equally fair, it was equally good, and having perhaps the better claim. When I looked at the second road, I felt that it was making a better claim on us, claim on me. Actually, I felt tempted to walk on that road. It was making a better claim on me because it was grassy and wanted wear. Actually, the poet felt that the road or the second road was full of grass. It was grassy, means full of grass, and wanted wear. It needed someone to walk on it. Though as for that, the passing there had warned them really about the same. While I was looking at the second road, I felt that if too many people start walking on the second road, this too would become like the first road. And then there won't be any chance of success there, or not the amount of success that the poet was aspiring to have. And both that morning equally lay, both that morning were lying there before me, making equal claim on me. In leaves, no step had trodden black. Talking about the second road, the poet says that the second road had a grassy layer. In leaves, no step had trodden black. The leaves of the grass on the second road were quite fresh, quite intact, not when a single leaf of the grass had been trampled under the feet. Actually, no one had traveled on that road, so it was looking quite fresh. Oh, I kept the first for another day. Feeling tempted to walk on the second road, I forgot completely about the first road. I decided that I would be walking on the second road. The poet finally decided that he would be walking on the second road. And what was the second road? It was the conventional style of writing poetry, traditional style of writing poetry. Yet knowing, I kept the first for another day. And then I decided that, okay, as regards walking on the second road, first road, I would just walk on that first road some other day. Right now, I'll move ahead on the first road. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way. While making this choice, while telling myself that I would be traveling on the first road sometime in future, I was well aware that once we move ahead in a particular direction in life, that single direction of our movement opens new areas of activities. It opens too many new options, and we get so completely lost in trying those options that getting back to the first road or getting back or looking back becomes quite impossible. I knew it quite well. I doubted if I should ever come back. I was doubtful whether I would ever be able to come back and work on the first road. I shall be telling with a sigh. Now, the poet started moving along the second road, means he chose the conventional style of writing poetry, and fortunately he became successful there. And then the poet says, I shall be telling this with a sigh. Telling this with a sigh. The word sigh, it is a sign of regret. Even though the poet has become quite successful, yet sometimes sitting lonely, he would start thinking about the first road. What would have happened if I had just walked on the first road? Somewhere ages and ages hence, because sometime ages and ages hence, after many years from now, two roads diverged in a vodka. I would be telling myself way back in the past, many years ago, there were two roads in front of me, and I took the one less traveled by, and I chose the road that was most unused by poet. Actually, it was lying abandoned, and I chose that abandoned road. It was less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. And whatever changes have come in my life, whether success or failure, whatever it could be, this all is the result of that single choice which I had made many years ago. Students, actually, choices are such that decide what we are going to make ourselves, whether we are going to make ourselves a special individual or just a common man. Regarding those poets who were large in number and were trying their hands on new style of writing poetry, whether they could taste success or not, it has not been conveyed. But as far as the poet is concerned, this Robert Frost is concerned, he chose the conventional style of writing poetry in a new way, and that brought about all the success or all the changes in his life. Thank you. Let me conclude now. We shall meet in the next class and discuss some other poems. Actually, the poem has too many poetic devices, but due to lack of time, I'm not able to discuss all those poetic devices. If I get time, certainly I'll do them all in the next class. Thank you. Bye till then.